Brendan Greene, welcome to the Game Informer Show, sir.
Thank you very much.
What is your life like these days? What is it like to be in the center of this whirlwind?
Busy.
Okay, that makes sense.
I'm doing a lot of traveling at the moment, which, as glamorous as it sounds, is a little bit tiring. But I will never complain, ever. No, but it's been crazy. It's been a great year, 2 years for me. So, yeah, learning a lot and just a little bit astounded by the success we've seen.
Yeah, definitely. So you're in Korea now, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And so what are you doing on these trips? What do the trips entail?
It's mainly just going to conventions, talking with press, guys like yourself, and meeting fans and stuff like that. It's a nice thing.
Was it something that you were looking forward to? Is this the payoff, or would you rather be back working on the game?
Oh no, I mean, listen, I have a great team. If I tried to work hard in the game, I'd probably ruin the game. Like the team I have, they're just fantastic. So it's a pleasure for me to go to these conventions and talk to people.
Yeah. So how did this whole thing start? PlayerUnknown, the entire name, the saga. What's just the very beginning of it for you?
So it started way back in Arma 2. I had a DayZ mod server, and back then my name was Captain Darling from Blackadder, and I was helping someone build a base on their server or something, and I just wanted to change my name for that server. And the default Arma player name is Player1. So I just deleted the 1 and put in unknown, and I was like, okay, that'll work. Didn't think about it twice. And then after I had made the DayZ Battle Royale mod, I was moving to Arma 3, and I was stuck for what to call it. I thought PlayerUnknown's Battle Royale sounded good, and called it that. Mainly because putting PlayerUnknown in front of something just stops any copyright problems. So, I just didn't want to call it just Battle Royale. I wanted to call it something that there wouldn't be a problem with copyright. Same with Battlegrounds, for example. It's called PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds because Hearthstone Battlegrounds exists. A lot of other Battleground type titles exist. And I thought if we called it just Battlegrounds, we may have a problem with copyright or people trying to stop us getting a trademark on the name.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a strategic move, and it also kind of harkens back to some old great PC games, like the Tim Schafer, Sid Meier school of thought in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, it was never kind of. I get this a lot of like, why do you have your name on the thing? And it's like there's nothing ego based or anything. It was purely just done because originally it was called PlayerUnknown's Battle Royale, and I just didn't want to call it PlayerUnknown's Battle Royale. I wanted to call it like a unique name.
Yeah, for sure. So
now it's PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds.
You've been working for a while now on kind of filling in this, I don't know, more rapid fire, just the core of survival fantasy. And I'm just curious, what's your viewpoint? Why don't you think the AAA game space has kind of filled in on this core fantasy before? Why has it taken so long and has had to come up through the mod scene?
I don't know. I'm kind of happy that the AAA scene haven't really looked at Battle Royale games and kind of gone, let's make one. It's kind of left me with the space to make mine now. I mean, we've seen it with, I think, the Division Survival was a Battle Royale-esque type game. It was fun, but, I don't know. I think as well, maybe a lot of the bigger engines out there, maybe they can't handle 100-player servers on massive open worlds, or it would take a lot of work. We're really lucky using Unreal that, it's a fully open source engine and we can, make the game we want to make. I'm not sure how many of the proprietary engines used by AAA titles can actually handle that number of players.
Sure, yeah. What's your viewpoint on just why this one took off in such a huge way this year? What was the catalyst? What's special about your ingredients compared to other ingredients out there?
Still trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I always say this, and I never mean to sound arrogant, but I always had faith in my game mode. I knew that the Arma 3 model that I'd created with, the depth of loot and the more tactical, slightly slower paced battle royale, I always had kind of confidence that that would be a success. And, with H1, they took my idea, they simplified it a bit, made it a little bit more arcadey, and, it's seen great success. But it was never my vision for Battle Royale. And then when I came here to Bluehole, I really pushed the idea, like, this is what we wanted, like a more Arma 3 based tactical Battle Royale. And I think I think Battle Royale as a concept, I knew it would be successful, but this level of success we've seen has been, it's even blown me away.
What does that look like from your vantage point? Is it just a lot of strange invitations, a lot of just weird corporations trying to grab onto the success here? What's been the most interesting part of it for you?
Yeah, my LinkedIn has never been busier. Everyone and their mother is asking us for, partnership and stuff like that. But it's great. We've got a great executive producer in Chang-An Kim, and both of us have kind of a very similar vision where we're not rushing into anything. Everything we're doing in baby steps, basically. And it's why we said a few weeks ago that esports is not a priority for us at the moment. We're doing a lot of research into it. We're looking into it. We're trying to find what all the organizations want, and what the teams want from our game, and what our game needs to be a successful esports platform. And we want to do everything right and not rushing into anything. So even though I do get bombarded with requests for stuff, we're really kind of looking at everything very slowly and calmly, and not trying to just rush into making rash decisions, basically.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to figure out, like, what's even the benefit of labeling your game an official esport game? I mean, you guys are already dominating Twitch. You're going to be dominating Twitch for, I'm sure, the rest of this year at the very least. So what's the upside of labeling or having a big stamp of, hey, we're an esport now?
Well, no, I mean, this is the thing. Like, from when I first created the Battle Royale game mode, I always wanted it to be an esport. That's been the big dream. But I know that, I can't force Battle Royale to be an esport. That it has to grow organically. We started off now with custom servers, and there's a few Japanese streamers and Korean streamers that have already hosted little leagues using our game, and that's what we want to try to foster, is that if we're going to focus on making the game competitive. There's no point in even trying to say that we're an esport if the game is filled with bugs and people can die from silly things. So, we're focused on making the game competitive, and then while we'll give the tools for creating esports, we have leaderboards, all this kind of stuff, and the observer camera. We really want to try to let it grow organically. If the community thinks this is a good idea, I think an esport will be born out of it. We just want to provide a pretty solid platform for any possible esport in the future.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. So you talk about LinkedIn blowing up. One of the strangest things was you guys posted the blog about, like, oh yeah, of course we're bringing it to consoles, working on Xbox One now, PS4 in the future. I just imagine that, one of the big two, at least, E3 would want to chamber that reveal. But you want to talk about just that reveal that, oh yeah, of course we're bringing it to consoles. It's a no-brainer.
Oh, I mean, we said from early on that that we would definitely try to bring it to console. We've no confirmed dates or anything for that yet. Our focus at the moment is getting the PC version finished and polished off before consoles are looked at. But it's, you have to go to console. It's one of those things that there's no battle royale game on console at the moment. We think it's a good idea, and I have a cousin that plays on Xbox. I want him to be able to play battle royale eventually.
All the players in the world don't mean anything. You got to get that one cousin, the good tangible result there.
Oh, well, I have a daughter as well, and they both have Xboxes, so I'd like them to play my game. She has a MacBook at home, so she can't play at the moment, and I'm not buying her PC just to play my game.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess I haven't said it yet. I'm in love with your game. I think it's I've had so much fun just in the last couple weeks getting a group together. It's bizarre how it's kind of rekindled this old paintball group from high school. And it's like, oh yeah, this is the game we want. These are the exact emotions we had playing paintball. But as great as the game is, as much fun as people are having with it now, what are the big beats that you see as issues with the game? What are problems you're hoping to fix outside of small bugs where it's like, okay, don't die from something quirky happening here, but what are the larger themes that you'd like to work on with the game?
Oh, server performance.
Yeah.
So like client and server performance are two, like all through early access. While, and we get this a lot, we announce we're adding a new weapon or a new vehicle, and people are like, oh, why don't you fix the servers, or why don't you fix the client? And it's like, because they're different teams. And no matter how many times I say that, people will still, every post I make on Twitter, there's one guy that just constantly, like, the same reply every time is like, fix servers please, or fix client. And like we've said this many times, like this client patch or this update, this monthly update is focused on client performance, and internally we've seen some great results.
Oh, great.
I gained about 15 to 20 FPS on the update internally. I'm only running at 1060 with an i7, and I saw some great gains. I was running at a solid 60. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this patch is, welcomed by the community, because I think it will boost a lot of people's performance. But that's what our core focus is during EA, is like fixing client performance and also fixing server performance. Server performance is going to take us a little bit longer, and it's it's not something we're not going to do. People, as I said, I addressed this yesterday in the dev blog, that, people are saying, oh, with all the money you're making, you could at least afford to get better servers. And it's nothing to do with the servers we have. We're running on AWS's best possible spec machines. And, I've seen the cost of that, and it's a lot of money. But, really, it's a problem with the networking code, and we're doing a lot of profiling internally. And these things just take a long time to fix sometimes. It's not you just can't throw money at a problem sometimes. And that's what a lot of people think we should be doing. It's like, oh, you've made, X $million, just fix the game. And unfortunately, if it was that easy, it'd be great. But, for us, it's that's what our, core focus is just improving the server performance and improving the overall performance for everyone. And yeah.
Has that been the biggest surprise for you about the development of this game, is just how tricky it is to get that network side right?
Yes. Luckily, we've got some very smart people working on that. We now have our engineering department is divided into kind of the engineers that work on the game proper and the service, but then we have like this SWAT team of about 4 or 5 people internally that kind of, they just like focus on certain problems like this server issue. It's just going to take us some time, because there's a lot of profiling to be done, and trying to find the root cause of the problem will take us time. But again, Unreal is a great engine to work with because it's open source, so we can just run into the code and try to figure it out ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, I have some dumb questions for you if you care to answer them. Something that after a lot of playing the game, I've always wondered. Is there any logic to the white circle? Is it just completely random within the larger circle, or what is the actual logic underpinning where that thing's going?
No, it's mostly random.
Okay.
I mean, there's no real logic. It's not based on player count or anything like that. It's pretty much, random within the previous circle.
Have you seen a lot of conspiracy theories out there?
Yeah, I mean, even today I got a tweet this morning going, "What did you do to the loot? Loot balance is broken again." We haven't touched the loot, that, and that's it's the beauty of the loot system we designed is, and it's the same with the Arma 3 loot system. That Lyric would be playing it, and I'd hear from him on a weekly basis that, oh, they've changed the loot again. We've never touched it. The loot system has kind of stayed the same in the last 2 years in Arma 3, and it's the same in Battlegrounds, that the loot system, while there was an issue with the balance a few months ago, or a month ago, that's been resolved now, and the loot's back to relative normal again. But it's just the way the loot system works that it sometimes you'll run into a house and find 2 or 3 AORs just because of the way it works, and that's generated a lot of conspiracy theories.
I'd imagine. Are there other big misconceptions out there that you see the fan base constantly talking about and you just want to clear up?
The servers, that's the main thing. I mean, it's funny, the EU servers perform, from what I'm seeing, like, people saying, oh, the EU servers are performing worse than the NA servers. But then I see people in NA saying, oh, well, the EU servers perform better than the NA servers. And, we run the servers on exactly the same hardware. So, I'm not sure what's happening. But again, this is something we're like kind of looking into seriously and trying to figure out why this is actually happening.
Yeah, for sure. All right, back to other questions. Have you ever thought about color coding the ammo? I understand if you've played a lot, it's maybe not that confusing, but it's something for new players. It's a little bit confusing. It's like, okay, I constantly have to see what type of ammo this thing's going for. Do you see that as an issue in the game?
No, I mean, we have a learning curve, and it's something that I've always wanted from any game I make, is that it should be not hard to learn. It should be relatively easy to learn, but there should be some kind of entry barrier that, like, you have to learn the game, because I really believe that hard games are fun. It's half the reason I started Battle Royale in the first place was that a lot of the AAA titles I were playing, they weren't hard, that I kind of, the whole respawn mechanic, you kind of knew where enemies were coming from. There was no final bosses in a lot of the shooter games I was playing, and I found them relatively easy. And I wanted to make a game that you could never really learn. Like, you can learn the basic mechanics of the game and learn, the boost system and the attachment system, but, you could never really plan how your round is going to go. That you have to be always thinking on your feet.
Yeah, definitely. So what about just the basic environment of this game? How did you decide to go with kind of an Eastern European vibe? What is it about that scenery and that, just culture and atmosphere that you feel like works so well for this type of game?
I just love the architecture, like that brutalist architecture. I've been a fan of it for many years. And when I was initially coming up with the design doc for the game mode, I just wrote, like, kind of on a forgotten island in the Black Sea, this is where it takes place. And I like that sort of feel to a world. I like that kind of Russian-y, kind of ruined island kind of feel. It was, and as I said, I come from Arma 2. That's where, like, it all started, and that was based in Chernarus and that whole world, and it's just a feel I really like.
Do you want that feel to be conveyed with the other maps as well, or do you want to vary up even that core feel?
Oh no, we're varying it up. Like we've said already, the two maps. One is a deserty kind of map based in, I think, Peru, that general direction.
Wow.
And the other one is another island, but based in sort of Yugoslavia, the Adriatic Sea. So it'll be more sort of Northern European feeling with a lot more different architectural feels.
Gotcha. Do you have a timeline in mind for those maps?
No.
Okay.
We're like we've started about 2-3 weeks ago on development of these new maps. No timeline yet, but we're hoping within about 6 months or so to have at least something that will be testable.
Yeah, right on. So I mean, since you're planning maps around the world, do you have just some Google Doc somewhere with the hypothetical lore of the Battlegrounds world? Do you give a shit at all about lore?
So when I was first making setting up the design doc for the game, I did create a little lore behind the island because I just felt it would give the art team a much easier have a much easier job creating it. And I think lore is important for creating it, but we don't have a serious lore there. There is a bit of lore behind the island that we have already. But it's not really that important to the game, I don't think.
So it's not
if we were going to do a single player campaign, then maybe. the history of the island would come into it. But in general, it's, abandoned island or abandoned world, used for battle royale. When we first started it, the team were like, "Oh, it's an apocalypse," and I was like, "Nope, no, it's not.
Everything's
the
fine.
world is fine." Just having these abandoned islands that this battle royale game mode takes place on.
So
that's kind of the lore.
You never want to show like a control room of the masterminds conniving over this whole situation on the future release. It's just it is what it is. Stick with it.
Yeah, exactly. It is what it is at the moment. Maybe if someday I'll get to do a single player campaign, but I'm not holding my breath for that. I want to get the game finished first.
Yeah. Are you into the idea of a single player campaign? Is it something you spend a lot of time thinking about?
Well, I did, originally I thought, because we have this Russian island and there's evidence of a military kind of occupation there and this kind of stuff, I thought it'd be fun to have a kind of Watch Dogs kind of game based on the island where, it was a bustling island with the military occupation, and you and 5 friends or 4 friends, can play like single kind of multiplayer campaign, but set in the kind of 70s. So, I thought that would be kind of a cool era to set something like a Watch Dogs-y kind of, well, not Watch Dogs, but I mean where, you set out to capture each town on the island and kind of take over the island from the military occupation. That was kind of my concept for it.
Right on. Are you ruling it out for even after release content? You think you're saving that for later down the road?
No plans for it yet. That's kind of a big dream. That's kind of like, I just had the idea for it, but really, it's not anywhere on a roadmap or anything. It's just, an idea I had for it.
I'd have to imagine with the success of this thing that someone from Hollywood's come calling. Do you have anybody interested in adapting this thing in any way?
Not yet.
Okay.
We've had some, offers, or I've had some, again, LinkedIn from some people there, but, nothing kind of adaptations or anything like that yet. No.
Okay, right on. And then shifting back to gameplay, what's the plan for, just the overall loot box experience? How do you want to expand that experience? Are you just confident that you only want it to be cosmetic?
Oh yeah,
okay.
100% cosmetic.
Great.
Yeah. I mean, really, what I want to do is, I love the CS:GO skin system. I love that. Yes, while it is gambling to a certain extent, I just like the fact that a player can be rewarded for playing the game. And I think that having a skin economy is great for the game in the long run. Rewarding players with skins that are worth, $200-$300 from buying a key for whatever, $2. I think it's just good for, CS:GO has proven that it's a great, thing to have in the game, and it's something we're trying to follow up on.
Yeah. Do you worry about some of those skins and some of those, pieces of clothing getting too wacky? Do you want to keep it somewhat restrained? Because I could imagine 5 years from now, just Adidas thrown in there and wacky froze and all sorts of nonsense.
No. I mean, we want to keep our skins as realistic and sort of as fitting to the feel of the game as we can.
Great. I love that strategy. Go for it. Hey, just to zoom in a little bit on one detail in the game, the vehicles, and specifically, tell me if I'm pronouncing this right, the Dacia.
Dacia. I've heard a few different things. I call it the Dacia because that's what they called it on Top Gear, and it's the main reason I put it in, because they always mentioned about the Dacia on pretty much everything, and I saw that there was a nice Dacia 1300, so that's why you put it in.
So it's a nice, loving Top Gear reference, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, never expected that. What about just the idea of putting so many rusted cars on the island? Is that a core part of the Battlegrounds experience? Is you want players to, from a distance, be like, is that usable?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to keep sort of players guessing, but really it's, again, to add more atmosphere to the island. There wasn't kind of a deliberate plan to confuse players. It was just to add a bit of atmosphere to the island, really, rather than kind of make them second guess if that's a vehicle or not.
But do you think they're going to be a staple for the other maps as well, then?
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Okay, you need the rusted cars. Not a post-apocalyptic, but everything's rusted, for sure, everywhere.
Yeah, it's an abandoned island.
Okay, all right. Love it.
Again, that sort of feeds into the lore that, there was there were kind of military. It was a military occupation with like chemical and biological experiments on the island's population. And after a resistance attack on a biological facility, the island had to be abandoned. And that's why it's like the way it is at the moment.
Love it. That's perfect. So again, it just feels like it's such a satisfying primal experience to play this game. It's like, this is the core of everything that I want. Where else can you go with it? Like, how do you keep players around? How are you planning on building this out? Are you worried about it just being an annual, obviously, phenomenon? But how do you keep players beyond the phenomenon range?
Well, we have 2D and 3D replays planned for the game. So you'll be able to, like we have a team that just joined that are, working on our 3D replay system at the moment, which is great because it's, while they're doing that, we don't have to spend resources on it. And it's something that I really feel is essential to the game, is having this ability to watch your own round back in the game and have a spectator camera that you can just watch yourself and see and watch any round basically back and create content from and I think this will help, the game in the long term where, it'll provide content creators and players with ways to create interesting videos and interesting, almost machinimas from our game.
Yeah.
But also going forward, we have a plan to add modding in. And I think that's what can help our game, survive that sort of 1 year flash in the pan, so to speak, that it's, we want to provide a platform for game modes. You already see it with our custom games where you've got like zombie modes and Sacriel did Sackhawk Down, and that this idea that it's, we don't want to restrict people to just the battle royale game mode or just the game modes we make. We want to see what everyone can create, and eventually, we want to allow these players to share those custom game modes on the workshop as game modes for other people to download and try. And it's my alarm.
Oh, good morning, by the way.
Yeah, if I could find it, it'd be great. What the hell? Oh, there it is. Sorry.
That's fine.
Oh.
No, absolutely. I'm focused. I'm really interested in that replay feature. So that would record the entire match and let you scrub through, or just like the last 5 minutes, or
no, the whole match.
And you say the 2D, so would that be like an overhead map and you could see where everybody is then?
Oh yeah, so we have like if you look at a great way to look at it is we had it in our alpha and beta builds, but we've kind of not put it in because it's not finished yet. But if you look at like the Arma 3 leaderboards, we have a 2D replay system, and that's why that was what our inspiration for this was. That that you'll have a way to look at the match you played. It'll also help you figure out where you were killed from, and if someone, it's also really handy for catching cheaters and stuff, because you can see people teleporting across the map so easily, because every movement is tracked. But yeah, so like our 2D system is just for watching the match back, like a history of the match, but then the 3D replay will be a full in-game replay of all your rounds, so you can create new content from this from a different perspective, slow motion, bit of a cinematic camera, these kind of things.
That's going to be amazing. This is going to create this social media firestorm that'll never go away. Do you have an ETA and when that's actually going to be in the game then?
No ETA, but we're hoping within maybe a few months.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got a pretty definite plan for the next 4 or 5 months, and that's why, like, a lot of people said when we went into early access, they were like, "Oh yeah, another early access game. It'll never be finished." And I took that as a serious challenge. Or serious challenge, and I knew, but like the team we have here, I knew that we'll be out of early access in about 6 months. Might take us a little longer, but we're not going to be in early access for years. It's we have a pretty firm plan on when we get out of early access.
Yeah, that's fantastic to hear. So after spending so much time with the game, how do you like to play? Is there any play style you'd recommend to players out there to check out?
Sorry, say that again?
How do you like to play the game these days? How's your strategy evolved?
I don't get a chance to play it all that often.
Really?
I don't get a chance to play any games all that often anymore. Most of my days are spent writing design docs or reviewing stuff or doing interviews and this kind of stuff. But for me, I'm a loot goblin and I like to camp. Like to let other people fight before I take them on. You know, for me, I've always been a sniper. My multiplayer gaming experience started off in Delta Force Black Hawk Down, and playing on those multiplayer maps and just getting a sniper rifle and like running for 5 to 10 minutes to get as far as away as I could, and take kilometer shots. Same, I play a bit of Battlefield 1, and I'm that guy that spawns at the back spawn point and tries to hit people 700, 800 meters away. That's what I enjoy doing. It's relaxing for me. And when I play Battlegrounds, I try to kind of do the same. I don't like close quarter engagements. I prefer to be sitting behind a rock or in a bush with a rifle and taking out people at distance.
I love that, you prefer that style, but still, it seems like scopes and snipers are so well balanced where it's still a relatively rare treat where you can really capitalize on that effectively. Was it tough to get that ratio just right of how many scopes to populate the world with?
Yeah, I mean, we have a massive spreadsheet that kind of gives us our probabilities for each weapon, and we're quite happy with the loot balance at the moment. I think it's a good feeling. But now we have a data science team, and we're really going to be looking into exactly how people are playing the game from a data point of view, and really start to tweak the game from that way rather than just from feedback from players. We want to kind of get an overall sense of how people are playing the game, and then really start tweaking and balancing it from the data we're seeing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, hey, anything else you want to talk about? Anything else you want to get off your chest?
No.
Is it interesting to be at the center of this whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, I was a DJ for a long time, and I never sought fame. I was that DJ that was kind of quiet and just mixed my tunes and enjoyed mixing the music rather than, being a party monster. And I had a good friend who was like my DJ partner. The two of us DJed together, and he's a lead, or was a lead guitarist in a semi-famous rock band in Europe, and he loved that. So I left him do the attention-seeking thing, and I just did my music. And it's the same with gaming. It's half the reason I'm called PlayerUnknown. It's as much as I'm getting to be more known now, fame is not something I really seek. It's I'd rather just make my games and make good games. And sure, the fame is nice, but I still like being able to go to conventions and no one knowing who I am. It's one of those little things I hold on to. Like even at our own booth at some of the conventions, I've heard people talk about me. I'm standing beside them, and they're like, "Oh yeah, PlayerUnknown this and PlayerUnknown that." And I'm sort of sitting beside them, kind of listening, going, "Yeah, that's great," and having no clue who I am. And I like that, And even my headshot nowadays is, half my face is covered, and I want to kind of. I know it's not possible for me to remain completely unknown, but the less people see of me, I think the better for me.
You look at examples like Notch, and it's like, maybe that wasn't the healthiest for that person to go through emotionally.
Yeah, I mean, although Notch these days, master level troll, he's
well, that's what you can aspire to, Brendan. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
What's been the biggest perk so far? You say fame, is great. You don't want too much of it, but has there been one thing that's really satisfying about this overall experience for you?
I'm just happy that, people enjoy the game now. Look, traveling, getting to go to these conventions is fantastic, and it's great for my daughter as well, because I get to bring her back really cool swag and stuff. And she ends up being one of the cooler kids in school just because she has so much stuff that, no one else in the school can get. But for me, it's like, I'm just really happy that people are enjoying the game. When we first had our closed beta tests, I was just worried that, people wouldn't get it, or, the performance would be bad. And then seeing people stream and play and generally enjoy the game and not have too many performance issues. There are people out there with issues still. I would say like 90% of people are having a great time playing the game, and there still is 10%. But we're not going to abandon those people. We're going to get everyone having a great experience. But for me, it's that just people are enjoying the game. That's what I'm really happy about.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, Brendan, congratulations on making one of the greats, man.
Thank you so much, and thanks for the time.
Thank you so much for watching this excerpt from the Game Informer Show podcast. You can subscribe to the audio version and listen to new episodes airing every Thursday. We cover big games on the horizon, games that we've just reviewed. We have long-form developer interviews, a lot of fun stuff. So check it out every Thursday.